Avikaraya Shuddhaya Nityaya Paramatmane Sadaika Rupa Rupaya Vishnave Sarvajishnave. Om Namo Bhagavate Nrisimhaya. Namastejas Tejase Avir Bhava. Karmashaya Randhaya Randhaya Tamo Grasaya Grasaya Om Swaha. What a glorious, inspiring prayer to Nrisimha by the people of Harivarsha. The speciality of Panchama Skanda of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is that we get to know how to pray effectively. The goal of life is to be in a state of prayerfulness. Prayerfulness is to be absorbed in Krishna. Effective prayers are foundational to our life and living. Therefore, in the context of explaining to Parikshit on the various practices across Jambudvipa, Shukha Brahma gives a very detailed exposition on how the people across Jambudvipa, not just Bharata Varsha, all the Varshas, how they worship Bhagavan Hari, how they pray to him. And in that process, we not only get to relish these glorious prayers, but we also get to understand the important components of an effective prayer. Because we all often have this question: how can we make our prayers effective? How do we pray? And how do we make those prayers effective? We also have this question: when we pray, does Bhagavan attentively hear to listen to our prayers? That is an unnecessary question to ask. Whether we are attentive or not, he is supremely attentive. It is important to know that while prayers are foundational and significant, they are not a replacement for our actions. Prayers complement our actions done with accountability. Prayers complement our actions done with accountability. Not just ordinary actions, actions done with accountability. Sincere prayers plus responsible actions is equal to success in life. Sincere prayers plus responsible actions. Now, how do prayers complement our actions? Through these glorious prayers that Shukha is sharing with Parikshit, we get to also understand how prayers can help us sail the ocean of samsara successfully. Sail the ocean. The word here is sail. S-A-I-L. Sail the ocean of samsara successfully. How do prayers complement every action that we do? Prayers help bring serenity. Develop a sense of serenity. What is serenity? Accepting things that we cannot change, and the power to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Prayers also help to bring our attention to the present. And many of us often experience this. When we sincerely pray, we are in the present. It is very important to know that while our intentions should be focused on the future, our attention should be in the present. But unfortunately, we get it the opposite. We do the opposite. You're always dreaming of the future now, completely missing out the present. Prayers help get our attention to the present moment awareness. When we experience Bhagavan, the bliss that we experience is because we are in the present, without the worries of the future and the baggage of the past. Prayers help us to become integrated, which is to be in harmony with Bhagavan, to be with harmony with his will, connect with him, stay connected with him, submit our will to his will. Prayers also help strengthen our love to Krishna. Love for him goes stronger and stronger. More we pray, stronger our love. Prayer helps us to redirect our love. We share our love with so many things, people and objects. Many a time in the list, possibly the objects are more than people. Then we really analyze what all we love, what all are dear to us. There may be some people in that list. We don't know if Krishna is there. We may have to go down the list, maybe. Somewhere he may be there. But there will be certainly many objects. Prayers help redirect our love. Redirect our heart from the material to the spiritual. This redirection of our heart, redirection of our love, means two things. This redirection demands a price. At the same time, it also delivers a prize. It demands a price, P-R-I-C, but it delivers a prize, P-R-I-Z. What is the price it demands? The price it demands is sacrificing our temporary pleasures, sacrificing our short-term wants. The price it delivers is everlasting happiness, long-term gain, Krishna Anubhava. This redirection, therefore, is very, very important, redirection of love. So therefore, how does prayer complement our actions done with accountability? It helps develop serenity. It helps bring our attention to the present. It helps us stay integrated. It helps strengthening and redirecting our love. Serenity, attention, integration, love. Lo and behold, we get the word sail. Prayers, therefore, help us sail through the ocean of samsara effortlessly. That is why prayers are so very significant. That is why we see Bhagavatam is full of prayers. It is one Shastra where we can get soaked in prayers. While the philosophy of Gita is so very profound, it is Bhagavatam's prayers that help us digest the philosophy of Gita. That is why Bhagavatam is Amrita. We learn how to pray effectively, and Panchamaskanda is so very special because we see a series of prayers. Now, Bhadrashrava Varsha, the people pray to Hayagriva. We saw last week how by praying to Hayagriva, the people of Bhadrashrava Varsha teaches several important lessons on how we pray effectively. Om Namo Bhagavate Dharmaya Atma Vishodhanaya iti. Atma Vishodhana. The first and foremost purpose of prayer is Atma Vishodhana, purification. An effective prayer is seeking purification. Purification is a process which exposes the futility of what we value and reveals what is really of value in life. The second component of an effective prayer we saw is recognition of the perishability of all the material objects, the fragility of life. Every time we pray, it is important to include this recognition in it. Constantly keep contemplating on how everything that we think are the sources of our happiness are all fragile. And the only source of everlasting happiness is right in front of us in the form of Krishna. The third component that we learned from the people of Bhadrashrava Varsha, praying to Hayagriva, is praying for empowerment to cross over Maya. And the fourth component of the prayer is praying to stay untainted by karma. Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa vachitaha jnanagni dattha karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. Krishna says in the Gita. Jnanagni dattha karmanam. The fire of jnana burns away the fruit of karma, making it like a seed when it is burnt will not result in a tree to grow again. So prayer for staying untainted, repeatedly saying everything that I do, I offer to him. That should be a very significant component of the prayer. Then Shuka Brahma moved on to the people of Harivarsha. And people of Harivarsha, we saw, celebrate Bhagavan through his avatar of Nrsimha. And there we learned another important component of this effective prayer, praying for fearlessness. Praying Nrsimha for fearlessness. And fearlessness and scarcity. Fear and scarcity always go together. When we are in fear, we have a mentality of scarcity. And when we conquer fear, that is when we are in a position to pray for the well-being of everyone, not only me and just my family, but actually pray for the well-being of everyone. And that is why in our Shastras, integral component of an effective prayer is to not pray for me or just for people around me, but pray for the entire universe. And the third effective prayer technique that we learned from people of Harivarsha is to pray for those who are envious of us. Instead of trying to encounter those who are envious of us, those who do wrong things, the people of Harivarsha teach us that the most effective way to handle people who envy us is to pray for them. Pray for their reformation and transformation. Therefore, if somebody is troubling us the most, that someone should be in the top of the list in our prayers. Pray for their well-being. Unfortunately, when their state of mind is not good, that is when we have problems with them. When they are reformed and transformed, there is nothing to worry. So therefore, the people of Harivarsha teach that we should be praying even for our enemies. That's the kind of an expansive perspective our prayer should have. The people of Harivarsha also teach us how we should pray for completeness and contentment. Because life, after all, is a pursuit of completeness. Because we are always feeling that sense of incompleteness. Whatever we do, there is something we are missing. When I have a bank balance of 100 rupees, I am missing something. When I have a bank balance of $10 million, I'm still missing something. There is always something missing. So life is pursuit of getting back to completeness, but by pursuing worldly goals, we are never going to get complete. So completeness is only when we connect with the source of all completeness. So prayer, we also therefore learn from the people of Harivarsha that we should be content and complete. Then Shuka Brahma moves on to Ketumala Varsha, where the people pray to Narayana in his Pradyumna form. And we also there saw that people of Ketumala Varsha pray by chanting the glorious stuti composed by none other than Sri Mahalakshmi. Akutinam, Chittinam, Chetasam, Viseshanam cha Adhisthaya. A significant component of our prayer should be this: Akutinam, Chittinam, Chetasam, Viseshanam cha Adhisthaya. Hey Bhagavan, you are the master of all my activities, my bodily activities, my mental activities, my intellectual activities. If you are the master of all my activities, then obviously all the rewards belong to you. How can I claim any reward? When you are the master of all my activities, there is no reward that I can claim that is mine. So therefore, a significant component of an effective prayer is to constantly remind ourselves that all the rewards only belong to him. When we keep on trying to get more and more of worldly things, we only end up forgetting Krishna. In the process of getting worldly possessions, we keep forgetting Krishna. The actions that are prescribed to us to do is to get Krishna, not to forget him. And thereby constantly reminding ourselves, Akutinam, Chittinam, Chetasam, Viseshanam cha Adhishta. You are the master of all my activities. And therefore, all the rewards only belong to you. Then Shuka Brahma now moves on to the next Varsha, Ramyaka Varsha. The people of Ramyaka Varsha, they celebrate Bhagavan through Matsya Murti, and they offer prayers to Bhagavan and who has taken avatara of Matsya. Om Namo Bhagavate Mukhya Kamaya Namasatvaya Pranaya Ujase Sahase Balaya Mahamatsyaya Namaiti. The Matsya avatara is very special. So, unfortunately, we are in today's day-to-day practices, in many of our worship that we do, we don't celebrate Matsya so much. But we need to remember this. Matsya Murti instructed the Shastras to Vaivashvat Manu. And this is what Krishna refers to in the Gita. He says, long time back, I instructed all of this to Vivaswan. And we say Matsya Murti is the Prathama Guru. While we celebrate Krishna as the Prathama Guru, Matsya Murti is Guru Tamaha. Gurutamodamaha Satya Satyaparākramaha Nimishaha Animishaha Shakni Vachaspati Rudharati. Bhishmacharya celebrates Matsya Murti as Guruhu Gurutamaha. He is not just an ordinary Guru. Gurutamaha he says. He is the foremost of all Gurus. Satya Satyaparākramaha Nimishaha Animishaha. The word, the Nama Animishaha for Matsya Murti is so very beautiful. Animishaha. One of the reasons why Bhagavan takes the form of Matsya is because a fish has no eyelids. The eyes of a fish is always open. Bhagavan is ever watchful, never closes his eyes. Ever watchful, and his grace is ever streaming down from his eyes all the time. Here, the people of Ramyakavarsha are offering prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Mukhyatamaya Namasatvaya. Even though you have taken a form of Matsya, you are made of Shuddha Sattva. You are not an ordinary fish. Look like a fish, like a Matsya, but you are made of Shuddha Sattva. Pranaya. You are the very life breath. Another very important component of a prayer. Bhagavan is our very prana. The breath of life is Bhagavan's grace. We take the simple thing. We think breathing is so very simple. We take it for granted. When we breathe out, we take it for granted that we will be able to breathe in. If somebody says air is not going to be free, he will hesitate to breathe out. Certain things we take it for granted. These are very, very profound. Without air, there is no life. He is prana. So effective component of prayer, of an effective prayer is, hey Bhagavan, this very life breath is your grace. I'm able to wake up in the morning and breathe because of your grace. What a glorious day. I'm alive and kicking and healthy. And your grace is working overtime even when I am sleeping. Ojase, the source of all my powers to the senses. My senses are able to work because of you. I'm able to see, I'm able to breathe, I'm able to touch, I'm able to taste. It's all because of you. Sahase, my mental powers, I'm able to comprehend, I'm able to analyze, I'm able to understand how privileged we are as a living species, how privileged we are when compared to every other living species. This mental power, the source of this mental power, therefore, praying that may this source, may this power get strengthened more and more. Sahase, Balaya. You are the source of my bodily power. Thanks to you, every part of my body is working the way it should work without any effort from me. What effort am I putting in any part of the body working perfectly? You are the magician who is making miracles. Every moment of my life is a miracle. And therefore, you are that source of miracle. Hey Mahamatsya. So therefore here, through Matsya Murti, the prayers that are being offered for, you are the source of all the powers, and you are always watchful. Looking at Matsya Murti's eyes, it is always open. No, Krishna can blink his eyes now and then in order to test us. Matsya Murti will never blink his eyes, always giving us that source of strength that he is always looking at us, which means I am being cared for. Why should I be scared? This is a very, very important component of a prayer. When I pray, my conversation with him is, Bhagavan, I know I am being cared for. Therefore, there is no need for me to be scared. Glorious prayer on Matsya. Antarbahishcha akilaloka palake adrishta rupo vicharasya urusvanaha the ishwarastam yidam vashe anayan namnayata dharumayi narastriyam. Antarbahishcha akilaloka palakai. Hey Bhagavan, I know that you are very much outside and inside hidden in me, but how do I also know that still I cannot realize you. I still know that. Adrishta rupo vicharasya urusvanaha. Adrishta rupaha vicharasya urusvanaha. Only those who are constantly listening to the magical vibrations of the Vedic mantras, only those, they can realize your presence within. It is only through constant Shravana. That is why Shravana is placed right at the front. In the process of all the sadhanas, Shravana is right at the beginning. It is only through Shravana, only when those vibrations, those magical vibrations carrying the glories of Bhagavan, when the Shabda Brahman enters us, the Parabrahman hidden inside will be revealed. We need the help of the Shabda Brahman. He takes the form of Shabda and he reveals. Therefore, unless I constantly keep listening to your glories, constantly listening to the vibrations of the glorious mantras, there is no way I can realize you. Sa ishwarastam yayidam vashe anayan namna yata dharumayim narastriya. Bhagavan, I recognize that you are the puppeteer and we are all just puppets. You are the puppeteer and we are all just the puppets. And like a puppeteer, you control every living being. Immediately we ask this question. If we are puppets, then this wandering in the samsara, then we are doomed. We are doomed to keep wandering in the samsara. What needs to be understood here is we are puppets, no doubt. Every living entity is a puppet, but we are special puppets. What is so special? We are special puppets because Bhagavan, out of compassion, has given us the faculty to make choices, has given us the faculty to desire, to deliberate, and to decide. Desiring, deliberating, and deciding. A cow or a tiger cannot do. We can do. It's a different question whether we are exercising this faculty. So there is a lower sidedness and a higher sidedness. The lower sidedness is what our vasanas are all about. Most often, it is our lower side that dominates over our higher side. We are like any other puppet. We are just like any other animal, programmed to work in certain ways, operate in certain ways. So, even though the choices are being made, these are unconscious choices that are made. So we are all infinite choice makers, but out of the infinite choices that we make, 99.9999% of the choices are unconscious choices. There is 0.0001% of choices that are consciously made. That is our higher side. There is a lower side and a higher side, but the higher side, even though it is called higher side, that is our faculty to will. Even though it is called higher side, it cannot conquer the lower side. The higher side needs to connect with the highest to conquer the lower side. So therefore here, the prayer here is Sa Ishwarastam yayidam vashe anayan namna yata dharumayim narastriyam. You are the puppeteer. We are the puppets. We understand that you control, and therefore you also must ensure that we make right choices every day. And that right choice is what? The right choice is essentially to align with him. So therefore, constantly telling ourselves every day in our prayers, help us with our desires, help us with our deliberation, help us with our decision making. As we begin the day, every day we are making all these three things, either unconsciously or consciously. If we don't do it consciously, we are doing it unconsciously. Desiring, deliberating, and decision making. All these things we are doing, but we are doing unconsciously, carried away by our vasanas. And if we need to exercise our will, we need his help of his will. And therefore, this becomes an important part of our prayer. Then, Shukha Brahma moves on to Hiranmaya Varsha, where Bhagavan Vishnu is worshipped in his Kurma Murti form, the Kurma avatar. Om Namo Bhagavate Akuparaya Sarvasattva Guna Visheshanaya Anupalakshita Sthanaya Namo Varshmane Namo Bhumne Namo Namaha Avasthanaya Namaste. Akuparaya, the form of Kurma, the tortoise form, Kurma avatara. Bhagavan repeatedly takes avatars and keeps demonstrating that he is the Sarvadhara. Keep telling us that he is our Adhara. And Adhara is support of all supports. There is no other support needed. But in spite of that, we don't recognize him as our Adhara. In spite of here, therefore, the prayer here is basically saying, Bhagavan, you are Sarvadhara, you are our support. Sarvasattva Guna Visheshanaya, whose form is Shuddha Sattva, transcendental goodness. Again, just because he is taken the form of Kurma, you should not equate him just to be another tortoise. Anupalakshita Sthanaya. Very difficult to understand your true nature. Because when he takes glorious forms, many a time it is very tempting to say, because he has taken a form, he is also limited. But his form is not like the material form that we are used to. The form he takes does not limit him in whatever. He remains limitless. All his opulences, his kalyana gunas remain without any impact. He stays blemishless in spite of taking variety of forms. Varshmane, you are unaffected by space, time, and things. Bhumne, you are the greatest of the great. Avasthana, you are shelter. Therefore, the prayer here is to see when he is the shelter, when he is the Adhara, the prayer is, Bhagavan, give me the capability to see your unseen hand in operation. Through the day, let me recognize your unseen hand. Because many a times, right from the time we wake up until we go to bed, throughout the day, miracles keep happening all the time. He keeps protecting us all the time. In different ways possible. Are we realizing and recognizing the unseen hand? We don't. So therefore, the prayer is, hey Bhagavan, make me realize. Let me see your unseen hand. Let me consciously. The moment we take a pause and start looking at the day's events, all of a sudden, we begin to get into this awareness. Yes, I can see how he has been protecting me. Very simple thing. I get into my car in the basement of a building and I drive, reach my office and go and sit at my desk. It is his unseen hand that has protected me so that I can travel from one place to the other safely. Do I recognize this? His unseen hand is at work all the time, and therefore the prayer here is, you are Adhara. The purpose of Kurma Avatara is to demonstrate this. He is the Adhara, Sarvadhara. And my prayer is, make me realize your Adharatva every moment of my life. And then Shukadeva goes on to the people of Kuruvarsha. who celebrate Bhagavan through his Varaha Avatara. Obviously, Varaha Avatara is so very special. Now, all the Shastras have very, very special liking for Varaha Avatara. Om Namo Bhagavate Mantra Tatpalingaya Yagyakratave Mahadvara Avayaya Mahapurushaya Namah Karma Shuklaya Triyugaya Namaste, Namaste, Namaste. You are Varaha, you are Yajna Varaha. Whenever Shastra celebrate Varaha, they celebrate him as Yajna Varaha. He is Yajna Purusha. He is the one who is the bestower of rewards. He is the embodiment of Yajna. And therefore, the prayer to Varaha is Karma Shuklaya. Make my actions, my prayer itself is a Yajna, and I pray that every action of mine should also be a Yajna. Every action of mine should also be a Yajna. Yajna is contributory. Let me perform every action to contribute to a higher cause. Let there be no selfishness whatsoever. Let there be no greed whatsoever. Let me always think of the larger good. Let me always think of the noble cause, which will be the reason for the actions that I do. So therefore, Karma Shuklaya, Triyugaya Namaste, Triyugaya. There is two ways to understand. Bhagavan has three pairs of Kalyana Gunas. Jnana Shakti Balaishwarya, Virya Tejam Saseshataha, Bhagavat Chatbhavyani, Vinaher Gunadihi. The 6 Bhagavat Gunas. He is called Bhagavan because of the 6 Gunas. Also Triyugaya. Out of the 4 Yugas, Bhagavan always reveals himself in many forms in the first 3 Yugas. And he by design is concealed during Kali Yuga. During Kali Yuga, he remains concealed. Unfortunately for us, he does not take as many avatars as he takes in the previous 3 Yugas. And therefore, by design, he remains concealed. That is why he is Triyugaya Namaste. Yasya Swarupam Kapayo Vipaschitaha Guneshu Darushpiva Jata Vedasam Matnanti Mathana Manasa Didrikshavaha Gudam Kriyarthair Nama Iritatmane. Beautiful prayer. Wonderful shloka. Yasya Swarupam Kavayohi Vipaschito Guneshu Darushpiva Jata Vedasam. Just like how the great rishis of yore, when they perform a yajna, there is a wooden stick called arani wood. This arani stick is rubbed by another wooden stick in order to generate fire for yajna. No matchbox is used. And when this wooden stick is used to rub the arani stick, fire which is latent in the arani stick, which is latent, present inside, reveals and comes out. Jata Vedasam. Similarly, Bhagavan is within us. He's always there. We need to do mathana, churning. Matnanti mathana manasa didrikshavaha. The mind has to be churned. And when we churn, what is this churning of this mind? To make the mind thoughtful. Now, sometimes English language can confuse us. When we say thoughtful, the meaning of thoughtful is contemplative, meditative. So the objective is to be thoughtful. We have to be contemplative. But thoughtful with only one L. The moment we put the second L, thoughtful, there can be no meditation or contemplation. The mind has to be thoughtful by churning out all the negative thoughts. And when all the negative thoughts are churned, when the mind is prepared, churning of the mind is preparing the mind. When the mind is prepared, the same mind which was projecting, which was showing us all kinds of unwanted things, all of a sudden will become a beautiful mirror which will reflect Bhagavan. The same mind. It's the same mind. The only difference is now the layers of dirt are completely removed because of the mathana that we have done. Just like, but this prayer reveals this prayer tells us one important thing. The effort of mathana is ours. The revelation is his. We can do the mathana, but he will choose when to reveal. So therefore, the prayer here is not to do the mathana. Prayer here is a Bhagavan, reveal yourself to me. Because revelation happens by his choice, not my choice. He chooses when to reveal himself. And when he chooses to reveal himself, that's when magic happens. Life becomes magical. So here, Iritatmane, Irita Atmane. Hey Bhagavan, the one who chooses to reveal himself during the process of mathana of my mind. And that is a very important component of an effective prayer. Asking Bhagavan, Dravya Kriya Hetava Ayanesha Kritibihi Maya Guner Vastu Nirikshitatmane Anvikshayanga Tishayatma Buddhibbihi Nirasta Maya Kritaye Namo Namaha. Nirasta Maya Kritaye Namo Namaha. You are the only one who can conquer the Maya, your own Maya. You are the Mayavi. You are the only one who can help me conquer your Maya. Atishaya Atma Buddhi. Who are those who are bestowed with Atishaya Atma Buddhi, who are able to get their intellect, discern what is right and wrong, what is the truth and what is not the truth. Know you as distinct and different from every other entity. That requires a lot of sadhana. Ashtanga yoga has to be practiced in order to Dravya Kriya Hetava Ayanesha Kritibihi, in order to know that all the sense objects, all the activities, my body, my senses are all products of gunas, and I am different from them, and Bhagavan is different. To know the difference between the three tattvas, Chit, Achit, Ishvara, requires a lot of effort. Now the prayer here is not to do that effort. Hey, Bhagavan, I am incapable of doing those Ashtanga Yoga. Therefore, you have to help me know you. Now, Bhagavan, as Varaha earlier promised, Nayami Paramam Sthanam Archiradi Gatim Vina Garudaskandhamaropya Yathecham Anivaritaha. Nayami Paramam Sthanam Archiradi Gatim Vina Garudaskandhamaropya Yathecham Anivaritaha. A very important shloka that we need to constantly chant. Basically reminding Bhagavan, you promised this. Nayami Paramam Sthanam Archiradi Gatim Vina. I do not need to practice Ashtanga Yoga to get my Atman at the time of departure, reach Brahmarandra and come out and catch the Archiradi Marga. I am incapable of doing it. You have promised. Garudaskandhamaropya Yadecham Anivaritaha. You will come mounted on Garuda and you will take me all along the Archiradi Marga to your abode. Therefore, let me remind you. So, an effective prayer should also be a constant reminder to Bhagavan. We don't need to be shy. With him, we can keep reminding him. You keep making promises, you better not break your promises. I may make my promise. I am after all a mortal. I am bound to break my promises. You cannot break your promises. You better keep up your promises. And when we talk of Bhagavan keeping up his promises, what else? Who else comes to our mind? Bhagavan, Paryada Purushottama, Ramachandra. Therefore, Shuka Brahma moves on to Kim Purusha Varsha, where the people of Kim Purusha Varsha offer prayers to Bhagavan and celebrate his Ramavatara. Om Namo Bhagavate Uttama Shlokaya Nama Arya Lakshana Sheela Vrathaya Nama Upasikshitatmana Upasita Lokaya Nama Sadhuvada Nikashanaya Namo Brahmanya Devaya Mahapurushaya Maharajaya Nameti. These are prayers to, glorious prayers to Bhagavan Rama. Om Namo Bhagavate Uttama Shlokaya. He is Uttama Shloka. He is the only one who can be praised. Bhagavan Rama, Ramavatara, is very special. It's a Purnavatara. Purnavatara means Bhagavan's limitless Kalyana gunas are all intact. At the same time, it is very special because he also went through great pains to conceal his paratva throughout. Of course, we get to see his paratva in some segments of Ramayana, but Bhagavan went at great length. He tried to remain as a normal mortal, as a human being. Why? Because the purpose of Ramavatara is to demonstrate how to lead a life rooted in principles, principle-centered life. If we need to learn how to lead a principle-centered life, our only recourse is Rama. And our only recourse is Ramayana. How do we cultivate nobility? How do we practice values that are fundamental to successful life and living? This is the purpose of Ramayana and Ramavatara. Sadhu Vada Nikashana, to the Lord who is the stone for examining the quality of, examining noble qualities. Touchstone is used to examine the quality of gold. Touchstone is used to examine the quality of gold. It seems Rama is like the touchstone to examine all the noble qualities. He is the benchmark. So it is very important to realize this before we get into all these modern debates that happen around Ramayana. There are thousands of people who spend hours and hours discussing on rights and wrongs in Ramayana without even studying Ramayana, first of all, and also without taking the help of other shastras which complement to understand Ramayana. Upasita Lokaya. Rama is worshipped by all. Upasita Lokaya. Why? Upasikshitatmana. He showed how to lead life through mastering one's mind. This is, if we need to understand self-mastery, mastering our mind, Rama is the greatest example. Lokaya namas sadhuvada nikashanaya namo brahmanya devaya mahapurushaya maharajaya nameti nama arya lakshana sheela vratai. Arya lakshana sheela vratai. Onvasmin sampradam loke gunavan kaschavityavan dharmagyascha kritagnyascha satyavakyo dridhamprataha charitrena chako yuktaha sarvabhuteshu povitaha vidvan kaha kasamartascha kaschaika priyadarshanaha atmavan kochitat krodaha tyutiman konasuyakaha kasya bibhyati devasya chataroshasya samyugi. Who else can demonstrate all the noble qualities other than Rama? So therefore, the prayer here is, when we are praying to Rama, it is not just glorifying his qualities. It is prayer seeking to imbibe those qualities in us. That is the prayer. An effective prayer is seeking that the qualities of Rama be imbibed in us. It is a prayer for the information to translate into reformation and formation of our character. All the information we get cannot just stay as information. That information has to translate into formation of our character. And who else is a benchmark? Who else is a touchstone other than Rama? When we talk about qualities and character and principle-centered relation and principle-centered life and living, we will have to necessarily glorify Rama. Krishna will come later. Rama obviously is the touchstone, is the benchmark. Therefore, the prayer here is, hey Bhagavan, give me that phrase, re-engineer my life and living in such a way that I can build my life based on the foundation of the noble qualities that you have demonstrated as a human. It is not that the qualities of Bhagavan, it is qualities that are necessary for a human being. And that is what Rama has demonstrated. Martyavatarasviha martyasikshanam raksho vadhayanaiva kevalam viboho puthonyatasya ramatasva atmanaha sitakritani yasanani ishwarasya. Sitakritani yasanani ishwarasya. One should understand he is Ishvara, Rama. Therefore, when he is lamenting for Sita, it is not to be taken as though Bhagavan is lamenting. He is playing the role of an ideal husband. If a husband doesn't lament for a wife, there is something wrong with the husband. Bhagavan, this is one example where Rama shows how to be an ideal husband, how to be an ideal father, how to be an ideal son, how to be an ideal brother, how to be an ideal king, how to be an ideal friend, how to be an ideal citizen. And all of these are important roles that all of us play. And therefore, the purpose of this prayer, the purpose of Ramavatara is not to kill Ravana. That's not the real purpose at all. Killing Ravana from Vaikuntha, Bhagavan could have willed and Ravana could have been vanquished. The purpose is for him to come down as a human being to show us how to play our roles perfectly. Amidst all adversities, amidst all challenges, how to be rooted in Dharma and perform our roles. Prayers for Vimukti from Yasana, prayers for Vijaya over Vishada. Ramavatara, when we pray to Rama, hey Rama, give us Vimukti from all kinds of Yasana, miseries. Liberate us from Yasana. And Rama, give us Vijaya over Vishada. Victory over all kinds of grief. Suro, asuro vapi, athavanaro naraha, sarvatmanaya srutangya uttamam, bhajeta ramam, manujakritim harim, ya uttaran anayat koshalan diriti. Praying to Rama, hey Rama, you showed by example to treat everyone equally. One of the things that we learn, one of the gunas that we can experience through Ramavatara is Saushilya. Moving with everyone without any discrimination. Sura, Asura, Vanara, Manushya, Jantu, doesn't matter. You treated everyone equally and you showered your grace. You reached out to each and every one of them and you demonstrated your love to all of them. And therefore, because of this, I am assured. If Asuras can be protected by you, therefore I am also assured, I may not have the mustache and the teeth and the horns like an Asura, but we all know after the 16th chapter of the Gita, who are Suras and who are Asuras. Devi Sampat, Asuri Sampat, we clearly know. The more we read the chapter, the more we get to know the Asuras and Suras. And therefore here, the prayer is, you without any discrimination, you protected everyone. Therefore, I am now reassured that you will also protect. I have no doubt whatsoever. Nadharmanishtos vinachatmavedi bhaktiman tvat charanaravinde akinchana ananyagati sharanya tatpadamulam sharanam prapadye. The great Yamunacharya, in Stotra Ratna, praise to Bhagavan, he says, Nadharmanishtosmi na chatmavedi na bhaktiman tvat charanaravinde. I don't know dharma. I am a bundle of all aparadhas. I don't know what is bhakti. I am helpless completely. Akinchana, ananyagati. I don't know. I have no clue on which direction to go. I am completely helpless. But one thing I know, your lotus feet alone are enough for me. Your lotus feet alone, Patpadamulam Sharanam Prapadye. You will accept me and you will take care of me and you will protect me. Therefore, a very important component of an effective prayer is to appeal to Bhagavan, hey Bhagavan, I am a bundle of all aparadhas. I am not perfect. I don't know bhakti. I don't know sharanagati. I don't know yoga. I know nothing. I don't know shastras. But I know one thing. You will protect me. Just by submitting myself to your lotus feet, I am taken care of. A very important component of an effective prayer. Thus, Shuka Brahman, in his conversation with Parikshit, not only shared details of the various varshas of Jambudvipa praying to Bhagavan, he also shared with us a beautiful framework as to how we can effectively pray. If we look at all the prayers of people across all the varshas of Jambudvipa, we get a very, very simple and at the same time a profound framework that will help us pray effectively. And praying effectively should be foundational to our life and living, and through effective prayers we can accomplish the goal of reaching a state of prayerfulness, which is staying absorbed in Krishna. Thus, Shukha uses that opportunity in the Panchama Skanda to give us not only details on the geography of Jambudvipa, but more importantly, on glorious prayers to Bhagavan. We spent more time on the prayers than geography, because knowing ancient geography is at best informational, but knowing the details of the prayers is transformation. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamstu.